But if you need
I had an understanding of you. Now I think it's down here.
Welcome to the regular meeting of Westminster Mayor and Common Council. The council meets here at City Hall on the second and fourth Mondays of every month. Please note that council meetings, although open to the public here at City Hall, are also available and streamed live on the city's YouTube page, as well as the Community Media Center channel and website. Now we'll begin as we do every meeting with the pledge to the flag, followed by morning. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As a courtesy to everyone, please take a moment to silence your cell phones or other electronic devices that might ring with you for music during the meeting. Thank you. Copies of tonight's agenda and the entire information packet that the council will be using are available online on the city's website, and hard copies are available here in front of you for those who are planning. The statement to read for the record before we go any further about the closed meeting of Monday, January 23rd, 2023. In accordance with the General Provisions Article, Section 3-306 D2 of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and without objection, it is noted that the minutes of tonight's meeting reflect that the Common Council met in the closed meeting on Monday, January 23rd, 2023, at 8 p.m. pursuant to General Provisions Article Section 3-305 B1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or other officials over whom this public body has jurisdiction, or any other personal matter that affects one or more specific individuals, and B8, to consult the staff, consultants, or other individuals about pending or potential litigation. Motion was made by Mr. Cavacci, seconded by Mr. Hoff, and the vote to close the meeting was unanimous. Following staff members were in attendance: City Administrator Imholz, City Attorney Levan. Common Council took no action during the meeting, and the closed meeting adjourned at 8:20 p.m. Now, please know we have a couple of special guests with us here tonight. First of all, it's a pleasure to have our County Commissioner from the Westminster District, Tom Gordon, here. Commissioner, would you like to say a few words?
If I could, have a short minute to, first off, thank you guys for having me soon. First and foremost, I'd like to start out by thank Chief Lidwell and the Westminster Police Department. It was an issue a couple of weeks ago. A member of the community had an item stolen from their home that their child owned, and Westminster Police Department was very fortunate and able to recover that quite quickly. I'm very happy to see that that was able to be recovered. It was a situation where the family wouldn't have been able to afford recovering that item, but it was very nice to see that. I appreciate all the police department doing under Chief Lidwell, so thank you for that. Secondly, I just wanted to drop this off with you all. It's something that's going to be coming around anyway, but the county is going to be having their second annual veterans event in May, so we wanted to drop off some information that can be shared with you all, Recton Parks, or any of the staff, or anyone else from the city or the citizens. And then third, I wanted just to bring up one thing real quickly with you all. I was here about, I guess, 3 years ago, about this time of year, and I had approached the city respectfully requesting at the time the Ellsworth Cemetery was a point of topic regarding possible annexation. Issue at hand was Ellsworth is now privately owned, but the challenge was for them to obtain certain levels of grant funding. The challenge was they needed to be annexed within the city. And 147 years ago, when the cemetery was founded, for whatever reason, it was outside of city limits. It was something that we had spoken to you all, or I had spoken to you all at that time about. And I know there's been some conversation, and I just want to stop in and just sort of touch base just to see where that might be at this point, if I could. So
Sure, I think that's moving forward.
Okay.
Mr. Depot, I'm sure we'll have some details on that.
Yes, thank you. It is being worked on by the private sector, pro bono work. I know they're working on submitting something shortly. I think an individual working on that is actually here tonight. So it is, you're anticipating to get it shortly, so it just.
Just wanted to touch base. Appreciate that. Appreciate everybody involved.
You would have volunteered.
But thank you for the time. I appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you, Commissioner. It's always great to have you here and we hope you'll visit us frequently.
Absolutely.
We're also pleased to have another visitor with us tonight. When Dr. Julia Jaskin took over her leadership of McDaniel College, she promised the city that she was going to send a staff person as many meetings as she could, share with us some information about what's happening up on the Hill, and for that person to go back and take information about what's going on in city government to the college leadership. So tonight, in another visitor, we're pleased to have Jenny Glennon, who is the Assistant Vice President for Administration at the college. We're glad to have you here. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. So we are really excited to welcome the students back on the Hill. You might have seen a lot of our students around town. They're definitely enjoying the warm weather downtown. We've been really busy thinking about our incoming class. So we had about 300 families on campus last Saturday, and we have two large events, March 4th and April 2nd, where we will have about 800 families on campus. And as we always do, we always encourage them to explore downtown. So we always appreciate the partnership when we have those families there. We are also kicking off our spring sporting events this week. On Saturday, we'll be having our first home women's lacrosse game. So hopefully some people come out and cheer them on. We also are really excited about hiring Mel Brennan. He is going to be the new executive director of the CEO. So you might hear from him as he reaches out to continue to do the good work of developing those relationships and opportunities for our students. And lastly, we'll be hosting the academic symposium on campus on May 1st. Some of you might remember that we did this for the first time last year in honor of President Jaskin's inauguration, and the event was so successful that we decided to make it an annual event. So it's a really neat opportunity for the public to come on campus, as well as our students to see the amazing work that our students and faculty are doing. So thank you.
Great. Well, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate seeing you and glad to hear about what's going on in these activities. I'm also pleased to note that former Mayor Joe Dominic is visiting us once again. Right, always glad to see you. We have minutes from the two meetings on January 23rd to approve. First is the meeting of the Mayor and Common Council regular meeting on January 23rd, and also the minutes from the closed meeting at the same date. We have a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. A motion by Ms. Gilbert and second by Mr. Capati. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. That seem to have the ayes have it. And the minutes are voted. We have four appointments from the mayor this evening to approve or to consider. The first is Mr. Robert Peeble Jr. Appointed to the Board of Elections. We have a motion to approve the appointment of Mr. Peeble.
Motion to approve. Second.
There's been a motion by Mr. Dayhoff and a second by Ms. Gilbert. Any discussion? Hearing none, move on to a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Seem to have it, the ayes have it, and Mr. Peoples is approved. The next one is the appointment of John Brooks Leahy to serve on the Board of Elections. They have a motion to approve. I'll move, Mr. President. A motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Mr. Hart. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and Mr. Leahy is approved. Third is Ms. Jacqueline Shinjack. I apologize. Also appointed to the Board of Elections. May I have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve.
And a motion by Ms. Gilbert and a second by Mr. Dayhoff. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have it, the ayes have it, and the appointment is approved. And finally, Mr. Thomas Bayard to serve on the city's Planning and Zoning Commission. All the, may I have a motion, please?
Move, Mr. President.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Kavachi and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and Mr. Bayard is. And Bayard, is that yours? Yeah, please.
Okay, first of all, I want to say, thank you to everyone who's agreed to serve on committee appointments for the city. Of course, we have an election coming up, so we have a fully staffed Board of Elections. And I'd just like to introduce very quickly, because I know many of you have met Mr. Peoples, many of us know Brooks and Tom Baird, but Ms. Jacqueline Shing Jack is with us this evening. And I just wanted to introduce her to the crowd so she could see our faces and know who we are. So I don't want to say thank you for volunteering to serve on the Board of Elections for the City of Westminster.
Pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Next item is the consent calendar. We have one item on the consent calendar for approval. We have a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Mr. President, I'll make a motion.
Second, there's been a motion by Mr. Hawk and a second by Ms. Gilbert. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The consent calendar is approved. Report from the mayor, Dr. Becker.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. It's been a little quiet. Maybe at the end of January. On January 25th, Councilmember Kavachi and myself, along with Ms. Impulse, met with President Jackson of McDaniel College. Aaron Benedito was also there. We had a meeting to discuss certain aspects of a follow-up from the breakfast that we had at McDaniel College to discuss some aspects of the McDaniel strategic plan that the city could play a role in. I really think that we're in a really strong position in our relationship right now with the college. And again, I'm looking forward to moving together in the future for a few things to work on with the college. The next day, on January 26th, I made a few comments along Commissioner Gordon was there as well at the opening of Hexagon Purus, one of the world's leading design and manufacturers of cylinders for compressed hydrogen storage for alternative fuel vehicles. Their build out was impressive, and it was really wonderful to see a manufacturing process relocate to Westminster. Hexagon Purus is going to add an additional 100 new jobs to their facility in the city as they build up to fuel capacity. I also wanted to mention, and I know I mentioned things like this, it seems like every council meeting, but Hexagon Purus is a Norwegian company. And so they had several members from overseas attending the opening of their facility in Westminster, including Morten Holm, who is a president and CEO. And I just wanted to let the council know that everyone had nothing but wonderful things to say about their time that they spent in Westminster. They let me know they enjoyed the restaurants, Rock Salt, Raphael's, up and down on Main Street. They enjoyed strolling on Main Street. And once again, much like we hear, the Main Street that we have doesn't exist as much in Oslo, from what I have heard. And so I just want to let you know that they really enjoyed the atmosphere that our city provided for the few days they were in town. And that's all, Mr. President.
All right, great. Thank you very much.
And that's been
We will now move on to report from planning committee, begin with our liaison to the Carroll County Art Council, Mr. Dayhoff.
Thank you, Mr. President. The film series is still really exciting over at McDaniel. I wrote recently that the best way to get through February is to watch a lot of movies. So that's really exciting. The 16th annual Peep Show is coming up March 31st to April the 10th. And an awful lot of people come to Westminster for that event. Lots of exciting programming. Go to the website. The website's done extremely well. And enjoy all the arts and cultural events at the Arts Council. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. The Economic and Community Development Committee, Mr. Hawk.
Mr. President, I'll just note that our next meeting is Thursday, February 23rd, and that we look forward to getting a lot done this year.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Hawk. On behalf of the Finance Committee, I'll just remind everybody that budget season has begun. And that staff is working on developing the budget from the city administration to present to the mayor, so that the mayor can pose it to the council. Looking forward to participating in that process and continue to have a balanced budget with no tax increases. Personnel Committee, Ms. Gilbert.
I just want to remind people that we have several positions still open with Westminster City, our personnel department, not with personnel itself, but as far as a whole, working for the city of Westminster. Great benefits, terrific leadership. So check out our website and there'll be a full description and a list of all of our positions. That's all.
Thank you, Ms. Gilbert. Public safety, Mr. Kavachi.
Thank you, Mr. President. The police department hired police recruit Jacob Everhart, who will start at the MPCTC Police Academy in Sykesville on March 6th. The department also retired K-9 Foxy from service. She was handled by K-9 handler Tim Phoebus. She served from 2017 until her retirement and was certified in drug detection, tracking, area search, and article search. And I believe our intention, Chief, is we are planning on replacing her in the relatively near future, correct? That's all I have, Mr. President.
How long do the dogs serve for? I think that's like 4 years.
Yeah, you can get, I mean, depending on what age you get them and all, you can get 6, 7 years typically out of them, maybe 8 if you're really lucky. But we typically only got about 4 or 5 out of most of ours where I was, because we were beating them up pretty badly most of the time. But I think a municipal department like this, 6 or 7 years, Chief.
Sometimes a little bit longer.
Thank you. Right. And Public Works, Mr. Kavachi.
Thanks. The Streets Department installed a new water fountain bottling filling station at the Arts Council. Some of you may not realize this, but the city actually owns the Arts Council building, and we performed the majority of the maintenance and upkeep on it. So that was part of the agreement. That's a pretty significant contribution that the city makes towards arts in the community, is managing and maintaining that building. Construction Services Division oversaw the installation of a new roof on 45 West Main. It's mostly complete, and also on the Carroll Arts Center. So we're doing a bunch of work over there. Streets Department repaired and reconstructed 3 doors at the Family Center. They also rebuilt a catch basin on Bond Street and Main Street. And on February 4th, the Utilities Division assisted Carroll County with the sewer main backup in Eldersburg. Mr. Commissioner, your jet truck was not operational. So they borrowed ours and some manpower from the city as well to operate it. And I think it just shows how we're good neighbors with each other. I know you guys, certainly your sheriff's department at times certainly assists our police department. And it's nice to see a good relationship like this where we can help each other out. So, and we're appreciative of the staff, Ms. M. Hulse, for stepping up and being willing to do that. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Mr. Kavachi. And Recreation and Parks Committee, Mr. Dayhoff.
The public's, I wanted to mention at the Carroll Arts Center, I was gonna mention on council comments. They had to work really hard to put that bottle filling station in. I think they were back in the 1937 works of the building, I put it in. It was pretty hard. We had a great Rec and Parks meeting the other day. We did miss the mayor. The mayor was not attending the meeting, so we promptly appointed her to several committees while she was not there. We talked about the pool. We talked about the pool's coming along well, and we're really excited about the pool. We talked about Wakefield Valley. Lots of exciting things happening there. I'm really particularly excited about the sculpture garden aspect of it. And Ms. Gilbert later will fill us in. They have developed a program guide, and that has lots of great information in it also. Councilwoman Gilbert, do you have anything to add?
I do.
Good.
You mentioned the program guide, which is out and about for everybody in Westminster City. But there is also everybody up here has a save the date flyer. And do we have any for our audience?
I do not.
Okay, well, I'll try to talk, and then what I don't cover, you can cover. There is a save the date. There's a save the date. There's a city nature challenge, 2023, April 28th to May 1st. And it is, we're joining as a partnership with the National Aquarium and supporting the Baltimore metro area. And it is a 4-day international competition to see which city can observe the most species. And I believe you have to use iNaturalist.
iNaturalist.
Okay, so you download iNaturalist on your phone and you go out and you look at all the things in the nature. And the idea is that Westminster will be one of the top cities and obviously international city in this whole campaign. Now, Abby, take it from here because I know I did not cover any of the major details that just did the bullet points.
Actually, you covered most of them. We do have 2 additional flyers up here. If anybody wants to snap a picture of us on their way out, you're welcome to do so. There will be more information forthcoming on our social media and also in the city's March newsletter. So be on the lookout for that. But what we're really trying to do is help put Westminster on the map. So Carroll County, for the size of the county and the size of our city, we've not had a lot of observations logged in the past. And we've not actively engaged as a partner in this until this year. So we really want to show them our presence, that Westminster is in the house. So I do encourage you to download the iNaturalist app and go out into our parks and natural spaces that we are so fortunate to have in this city and take as many photographs as you can with that app. And you don't have to do anything more. Actually, everything's done with geotags. So it says, hey, you were in Westminster during this time and you made this observation, and it automatically counts. So please join us April 28th through May 1st. We will also be hosting a kickoff event on April 28th at Wakefield Valley Park. So we'd love to see you out there, and we can help anyone downloading the app and getting acquainted with how it works at that point in time. So we look forward to seeing you all for Westminster's first annual City Nature Hunt.
So what your science teachers out there, your Boy Scout leaders, Girl Scout leaders, you name it. County, and emphasis on the Board of Education, great opportunity to partner with everybody on this. And put Westminster on the map. Except that was a dual report.
So it was, Mr. President, Mr. Deha. One aspect of the nature watch is that I've heard from folks in other parts of the country, the city of Westminster is already on the map for Wakefield Valley because of migratory birds. And you explained that a little bit better at our meeting, but the bird watchers have really discovered Wakefield Valley Park, which is exciting. Yeah, anything to add? No. It's good stuff.
Took the other chance to make a report later, so.
Okay. We just wanted to spotlight it. We always very wonderful. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Jayhawk. All right. And finally, on behalf of the Technology Committee, we met last week, had a valuable conversation about the status of these key operations and staffing. And I think, you want to share more on that. That's it for our committee reports. Now we have council comments. This is the opportunity for council members to mention or bring up anything that is not on tonight's agenda elsewhere or wasn't covered in the course that they would like to share. And we begin with Mr. Kalachi.
Yeah, Mr. President, 2 quick things. Number one, just echoing what the mayor touched on in terms of McDaniel. I really agree. Mayor Dominic during his term certainly fostered that relationship, and he's got good relations up there with the college. And I think we just are continuing to progress and build that stronger all the time. I don't think it was ever bad, but it just wasn't all that super existent for a time period. And I think it's really over the last number of years gotten much stronger. Now, of course, with the new administration up there, it's wonderful. It was a good meeting. Of course, I was the only male in the meeting, and they got onto a topic about women's leadership and things like that. And I said, I'm just going to sit here and shut up because I got nothing to say. Mostly observed and actually really enjoyed it. It was fun being in a room of very strong and influential women, and it was a good meeting. Number 2, I just wanted to comment. I think you guys probably see this too. The past few weekends downtown, it has been bumping. You can't get into the restaurants. There's people on the street. There's just a tremendous amount of activity downtown. It seems like really putting those lights up, putting music on the street. I don't know if it's just that, or if it's a bunch of other factors. The weather's been pretty good, but it does really feel like things are starting to really pick up a good bit. And I think the lights and music have a little something to do with it. It's, it's probably not all of it, but it's certainly part of it. You know, our businesses are doing well because they work hard and they're putting a lot of time and effort into making their establishments attractive and bringing business in. So they certainly deserve a lot of credit as well. So that's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Scalacci. Mr. Dayhoff.
Oh, thank you, Mr. President. I also appreciate the strong relationship with McDaniel College. I guess at times like this, I always have to disclose that I'm the 32nd member of my family to go to McDaniel College. But other than that, and then Caroline's mom called on Sunday, and I had to tell Caroline's mom that Caroline has been named to be an advisor, community advisor for one of the fraternities up at McDaniel. So on Saturday afternoon, my wife was at a frat party. So I didn't ask any follow-up questions. I just, he didn't drag anybody home. Downtown is picking up. A friend of ours is actually a NASA scientist who teaches at McDaniel, and she was in town. And we had to go to 3 restaurants before we could get into a restaurant. So thank you. That's all I got, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. Ms. Gilbert.
I have a couple things. On Thursday, January 26th, I joined the mayor and council member Huff, and we had a very interesting tour that was led by Theo, and I do not know Theo's last name. I'm sure that do about the new simulation center at Carroll Hospital Center. I just X that off in box for you. It was really interesting to see the new innovation that is coming to our local hospital. It was kind of pretty much walls and a lot of construction, but just the idea and what it will be for the new nurses that come to our hospital and anyone else that will need some training, basically in-person training as opposed to maybe watching a video or a movie or something like that. It's actually learning right there. So that was really interesting. And then February 6th, I joined the downtown business meeting that was held at our administrative office building. It was a work session actually, and it was centered around 4 questions regarding our downtown, and we broke off into 4 different groups. So it was really interesting how that information, we put it on very large sticky poster board paper, and they will be used to address hopefully a lot of the issues brought forward and some of the work that we hopefully will put on our visionary goals. And I look forward to seeing how some of that comes to fruition. So that's all.
Councilmember Gilbert, Raymakers is Theo's last name.
Thank you.
What was it?
Raymakers.
Thank you. All right. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. Hawk.
Like last year, I've just been trying to keep an eye on happenings down in Annapolis and how they may impact us in the city of Westminster. And I just want to express my thanks to our delegation. They have been helpful to us behind the scenes with trying to take care of some things that are important to the city of Westminster, which I'm sure we'll get into at future meetings. But I just want to express my thanks to them. They have been very supportive and helpful to us. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Move on now to ordinances and resolutions. We have 2 items there this evening. The first is introduction of ordinance 2023-01, budget amendment number 1 for fiscal year 23. And that will go to our Director of Finance, Teresa Rogers. Ms. Rogers.
Thank you, Mr. President. The city's fiscal year commenced on July 1st, 2022. In accordance with section 20-2 of the Code of the City of Westminster, the city administrator prepared a budget for the mayor to present to the common council for consideration. Ordinance 943, approving a budget for fiscal year 23, was adopted on May 23rd of 2022. During this current year, with the rising cost of goods due to supply chain problems and inflation, it's become apparent that the city has incurred and will continue to incur expenses that exceed current appropriation, and therefore additional appropriations are necessary. A summary of the proposed additions is included with this staff memo. And the funding sources are as follows. $997,000, $997,682.30 would be funded through ARPA funds. $358,000, again, $358,085.92 would be funded through new intergovernmental funds. $108,108 are funded through other sources. There is a correction that we're also taking account for, which actually is a positive and not a spend of $3,652,942 out of general fund reserves. $1,416,522.52 will be funded through sewer fund reserves. And $291,981.96 will be funded through water fund reserves. That's a total of negative $480,561.30 of total additional, which is really a reduction because of that correction in appropriations. The additions or reductions above include a correction to the approved general fund to reflect general fund dollars allocated to the other funds. This correction reflects the budget being used to run the city and reduces the general fund appropriations by, again, $3,652,942. Budget Ordinance 2023-01 includes both the additions and the correction. The Finance Committee reviewed the proposed budget amendment and recommended to move it forward to council at the meeting held on December 5th of 2022. The staff recommends that the mayor and common council introduce the amended budget appropriations as detailed in ordinance number 2023-01.
Thank you, Ms. Rogers. Let's get a motion and remind everybody, this is just for introduction tonight. We'll be taking this up to consider and vote on it at the next meeting. So may I have a motion for introduction of ordinance number 2023-01?
Motion to introduce.
Then a motion by Mr. Dayhoff and a second by Mr. Hawk.
Yes.
All right, any discussion or any questions before we move on to vote?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
Finance Committee looked this over. Is that what?
Finance Committee's been working with the administrator and the mayor throughout this process of developing. As you'll recall, we've been talking about it for some time.
Yeah.
And we've had some fine tuning along the way and working with staff and council, we've gotten it to where we're able to introduce it. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you,
Mr. Hawk.
Mr. Dayhoff, yes, we have been looking at it for a while and I have a lot of red ink just comparing notes, not red ink in a bad way, but just comparing the numbers. And I spoke to Ms. Imholz this afternoon because I had a few technical questions, but everything adds up. I was a accounting major back in the day, so I'm kind of particular about that kind of stuff. The only thing I was going to suggest is in the actual ordinance itself, I think it would be helpful when reviewing the ordinance, we have a spreadsheet, but when reviewing the ordinance, there's a column that is the original adopted. And then there's a column, the newer version just shows the amended budget. I kind of think it would be helpful to have what the delta is and have three columns. When I was looking back at a previous budget amendment we did the following year, it was more in line with that, where there was the original amount and then the delta column and then the ending budget amount. And I just think it would be a little bit more easier to follow when we're looking at the actual ordinance. My one suggestion is between now and when we actually adopt the ordinance, that if we could just add that delta column and have a three column on the ordinance. I think that would be helpful, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hawk. Anyone else wish to be heard? All right,
Mr. President,
Ms. Imholz.
the suggestion that was able require an amendment to the introduced ordinance. I just want to clarify that that's what's being requested.
Yes, we understand that. Anyone else?
When do we plan to take this up, Mr. President?
Probably at the next meeting, I would think.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Unless there's something you want to do. All right, so we have a motion for introduction before us. All those in favor of introducing the ordinance, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it, and the motion is, the ordinance is introduced. Next, we have introduction of resolution 23-02, annexation number 75, enlarging the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster by annexing into the city certain property containing 75.9797 acres, contiguous and adjoining to the city's existing corporate boundaries, consisting of the industrially zoned portion of real property located at 1131 Avondale Road, Westminster, Maryland 21157, also identified as tax account number 07-028555, map 0045, grid 0021, parcel 0046, and comprising plus or minus 74.9055 square feet and 1.0742 acres state highway administration property containing a portion of Maryland Route 31, also known as New Windsor Road. To explain all this to us, we have Director of Community Development and Planning, Mr. Depot.
Thank you and good evening. LEF Stone Chapel LLC and MJF Stone Chapel LLC, the property owner of 1131 Avondale Road, Westminster, Maryland, has petitioned the Mayor and Common Council to annex 74.905 acres of industrial zoned portion of the property into the corporate boundaries of the city of Westminster. In addition, this annexation includes 1.0742 acres of state highway administration right of way for a total annexation area of 75.9797 acres. The property, not including the state highway right of way, is zoned I-2 heavy industrial district under the Carroll County zoning ordinance. The petitioner is requesting that the property be zoned IR industrial restricted zone under the city zoning ordinance. At this time, there are no development plans under review for the property. The property does contain one single family dwelling unit, and the people residing at the property have signed the annexation petition pursuant to annotated code of Maryland local government article section 4-404A1. This is not reflected in the draft resolution, so the resolution would need to be amended to reference the residents. The annexation petition submitted by the petitioner meets the requirements in the annotated code of Maryland local government article division 2, title 4, subtitle 4, and the city of Westminster zoning ordinance section 164-6. With that, staff recommends that the Mayor and Common Council move to introduce resolution 2302 for annexation as amended to reflect the two residents at the properties which have signed the annexation petition, allowing the annexation process to begin. And that completes my report.
Right, thank you, Mr. Depot. I would note for everybody that this is for resolutions for introduction tonight, which begins the annexation process, which will allow staff and other concerned bodies to begin to do their work before it finally winds up back. So may I have a motion for introduction of the resolution?
So moved, Mr. President.
Then a motion by Mr. Kavaki. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a second by Mr. Hoff. Is there any discussion or any questions for the staff?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
a wonderful addition to Westminster.
Anyone else?
And it means that a lot of that other industrial property is contiguous also. And once they discover how great it is to be city of Westminster.
All the way down to this.
That's right. No, it really does. It gives us access to that, all that. Kenny Owen and I used to joke about that.
Anyone else, Mr. Hubert?
Mr. President,
Mr. Kavaki.
the Avondale, the road that is there, is that already are we responsible for that road or is that a county road?
That's today the county road.
So that portion will become our responsibility since both sides will be city property. Is that accurate?
Not technically. I mean, I guess it's assumed that we will be responsible for that portion of the roadway. I guess that's something we will flush out as we go through the annexation petition process.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Very good. There's no one else. We'll move on to take a vote. All those in favor of introduction of the resolution, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The ayes seem to have, the ayes have it. And the resolution is introduced and we begin its way through the process.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You guys don't have to stay.
Yeah. Come later.
Thank you.
Now it's time for unfinished business. There's no unfinished business for the council of which I'm aware. Does anybody have any unfinished business? There's none. So we'll move on to the next item, which is new business. And first item there is approval of change order number 4 with Keller Brothers Incorporated for requested custom shade structure to be installed at the learning bench lab learning pool and 2 funbrellas. A new word every day. New 2 funbrellas to be installed at the funbrellas to be installed at the splash pad spraying ground in the amount of $76,414.48. Ms. Gruber.
Thank you, Council President. Leave it to the Recreation and Parks Department to introduce a new word into everybody's vocabulary, funbrella. As you know, Keller Brothers Incorporated is the general contractor for the Westminster Municipal Pool renovation project. As the design build process evolves, especially with phase 2 of the project, change order number 4 is being presented as an amenity to enhance the user experience and moreover to promote sun safety. This change order directly relates to phase 2, add alternate 1 and add alternate 2. Add alternate 1 and 2 are the learning pool and the lagoon and spray ground. This change order includes the addition of 1 shade structure installed over the learning bench in the lap learning pool and 2 funbrellas, which will be large permanent umbrella structures installed in the lagoon and adjacent splash pad. The addition of these features will cost $76,414.48. The Recreation and Parks Committee did meet and approved the components in add alternate 2 at its meeting on December 6th, 2022. This change order will not alter the contract time for phase 1 or phase 2 completion. ARPA funds will cover the total cost of this change order. Staff does recommend the city authorize Keller Brothers Incorporated to perform the work identified through the approval and execution of change order number 4.
Thank you, Ms. Gruber. May I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Mr. Dale. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Gilbert. Any discussion or any questions for the staff?
Mr. President,
Mr. Dale.
this was reviewed by the Rec and Parks Committee and it was wholeheartedly supported.
Right, thank you.
It'll be a great addition. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Mr. President, I just want to make some points that the funding is coming from our ARPA funds so that Tony or Bocci does not have a heart attack. Those funds will be coming from our ARPA funding. And the umbrellas and the shade structure are there. I think funbrellas are the funbrellas. Just so you guys can have a picture, it's not just a simple umbrella. These are permanent structures, very hard plastic. And as Ms. Gruber did mention, it is to promote sun safety because, you know, when you have your 6-month-old or your 2-month-old or even your 1 or 2-year-old in the splash pad, you really don't want the burning 90-degree sun on their little bodies. So it is there to provide shade, not only for mom, dad, and the baby, but for all other folks that are just hanging out in the splash pad. So there is some health factors that are going into the reason why we are promoting the umbrellas.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Mr. Hawk.
let's have a technical question. You know, we're working on this budget amendment. Are we gonna have to do another budget amendment for this particular edition or not?
Yes, there are a few other items that will need to be clarified with a second budget amendment towards the end of the fiscal year. This will be included in that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And you know, just a reminder, everybody, budget amendments are our more recent practice of just making sure that, you know, the changes that we make along the way that, you know, we have made over the years in many different cases, become reflected in the budget, which is a good way to manage the affairs as opposed to our prior practice, which did not, add these things into the budget, in a formal way, and so, they weren't reflected when we were reviewed previous year's budget, future budgets, these things were not reflected. So this is it's a much better practice, and as Mr. Hoff noted, there will be other course corrections along the way that we'll have to include as well before the end of the fiscal year. Anyone else wish to hear about this? Hearing no one, move on to a vote. All those in favor of approving change order number 4, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. I seem to have the ayes have it, and change order number 4 is approved. Next item, I will turn to Mr. Kavati for a motion.
Thank you, Mr. President. I move that the common council adjourn into a closed meeting at the conclusion of the mayor and common council meeting on Monday, February 13th, 2023. In accordance with the general provisions article of the annotated code of Maryland 3-305 subsection B subsection 1 to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom this body has jurisdiction. Any other personnel matters that affects one or more specific individuals.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
The second by Mr. Hawk. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. Yeah, I think that the ayes have it. And the motion is approved, and we will go into a closed session at the adjournment. Now it's time for departmental reports. Ms. Imhoff.
Thank you, sir. The council has, in council comments, have covered all of the items I was going to bring up. So we will, without further ado, move around to the department heads. And we will start tonight with Mr. Depot in the planning.
Thank you. I'm happy to say that with some work between staff and the West Pharma group, we were able to resolve some of the outstanding landscape and design preference issues that we had. And they are going to the planning commission on February the 16th. And outside of that, just welcoming Tom Bayard to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and I have a new staff member, Ann Champney, which I think everybody's had the opportunity to meet. So we're fully staffed, which I'm very happy about. And that's all I have. Thank you.
We're all very happy about that.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Depot. Are there any questions for the planning department? Hearing none, we'll move on to the human resources department. Ms. McCullough.
Good evening. The Human Resources Department, we continue to advertise for key positions. We are actively interviewing, and we're getting good candidates for those positions. So the list is getting shorter. I also would like to welcome a new staff member, Parisi, an HR analyst. And that completes my report.
Thank you, Ms. McCullough. Are there any questions, comments for the human resources department? Moving on, then we will go to Mr. Brown with the housing department.
Thank you, Ms. Omo. Good evening. I just wanted to provide the mayor and council with an update on Bishop Garth apartment. We had an opportunity to meet last week with several members of the ownership, including the senior vice president for operations, the facility director, the regional planning, the regional property manager, and the property manager for the site. Some of the things that we were discussed was the general conditions and some of the commitments they were allocating money to do window replacement in 2024. They already are doing extermination on a bi-weekly basis. One of the items that we brought up was the quality of the maintenance work that they had done. And they committed to quality control to improve the level of workmanship there, as well as continuing their efforts to try to find a person a maintenance person to dedicate to that site. I also informed them that they will be on an annual inspection. February of 23 will be the next one. We're going out next week to do a follow-up on the work that they've done based on what we identified. They informed us that they had finished just about everything except for 2 units, but we'll follow up next week. And then we'll report back what we found. So that's concludes my report, Ms. Emma.
Mr. President.
Right.
Ms. Emma also got a question, for Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, how many units are on that, in that entire complex?
There's 71 units. Well, actually, there's 72, but one of the units is being used as an office. But there's 72 units that people actually live in.
And they have not had a maintenance person at that facility previously, or they just don't have one right now?
What they have been doing is they've had some people working as maintenance staff, but you know, they didn't stay. So what they were essentially doing was hiring people through a staffing agency and then supplementing them with contractors. So it's not bad in terms of model, but you need someone that's going to be there on a regular basis, that the people can become familiar with, somebody that actually know the property and the equipment in it and so forth. So that was one of the things, but it's not really a person that they have that's there that they've been able to keep.
They plan on changing that.
They are working to try to change that. They're actively trying to get somebody that they can dedicate to that particular site.
A pretty fair number of units you would think it would warrant. And even if it's just a part-time person sitting there on a very consistent basis, probably part of the reason we have the issues we have.
I think what they've run into is hiring somebody and then being able to get them to stay.
Sure. And we only have so much control of the project. You can't force them to do that. I think it's a good move, and the more we stay on them, the more they're going to be inclined to dedicate more resources to addressing these issues so that it doesn't keep coming up constantly, which it will. That's all.
Any other questions for Housing Director? Seeing none, we will move on to the Recreation and Parks Department. Ms. Gruber.
Good evening. I'd like to take this opportunity to remind everyone that our 12th annual Celtic Canter and Downtown Irish Festival is less than a month away. Scheduled for March 11th. This is more than just a 5K run. There truly is something for everyone. We do have our 5K run at 9 a.m. At 10 a.m. we have a 1-mile leprechaun chase for children. At 11, we have our 0.5K. If you haven't quite worked your way up to a 5K. We also have a great festival unfolding on our main street. We have live entertainment. We have Irish themed vendors, and we have food vendors. We have activities and crafts for children. So please, you don't have to be a runner or even remotely interested in running to come out and enjoy our vibrant downtown on Saturday, March 11th. We will have things happening from 8 a.m. until 12 noon on Main Street. And then we will sponsor a trolley that will circulate you around to all of our bars and restaurants for a fun little pub crawl to celebrate the Irish way. So please come out and find something fun to do on that particular day. Certainly will be worth your time, and we are certainly hoping for no snow this year.
It was fun last year.
Yes, it was.
Good video.
I just update you, we do have 528 registered runners at this point, so we are anticipating that we will reach our anticipated goal of 1,000 runners for this particular event. So it is something to see. In addition to that, we just met today and set our dates for our second annual Pickle in the Park. This is our pickleball tournament that we hosted for the first time ever last year. And it was such a success that we decided to bring it back. So June 3rd and 4th, City Park will play host to this event. And we are certainly excited to be welcoming it back. And we believe that we will probably have around 300 individuals registering to participate in this 2-day tournament. So super excited that that's happening again. And lastly, just to round out my report, parents and families, please mark your calendars for Saturday, April 1st for our exciting bunny trail and egg hunt that we host out at Wakefield Valley Park. This is egg hunts are at 10 and noon, or I'm sorry, the event is from 10 to noon, and egg hunts will be occurring for ages 1 to 4 and 4 to 8. The Rabbit and Cavy Club will also be there, and children will be able to embark on a trail with spring themed activities and games. So we're looking forward to hosting that. This event is free to anyone who attends, members of our community. We can report unless there are any questions.
Mr. President, have we agreed to partake in the 0.5?
Well, we were just discussing that. I think there's considerable sentiment to do that again.
T-shirt.
So my t-shirt. All right, everybody game?
Yeah.
I'm in.
We want to have a videographer this year.
He might actually be back.
That would be good.
Yeah, it's like his spring break is right around that, so. we might have-
Well, that's not hard.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Kavash is checking.
He's
Of course, Mr. Kowalski will participate.
It is our intention to.
Mr. President,
Yes,
just
Mr.
wanted to share with you that I'm on a rigorous training program.
I'm pleased to hear it.
Mr. Dayhoff, I'm gonna beat you.
Long camp beer stations like you did.
I'm going to put a lot of oil on the walker.
We're planning glory for everybody.
I'd like to challenge the commissioners, maybe they would like to join us.
Oh, that would be good. That would be good. You could join me in my rigorous training program.
You're picking up, it's a 0.05K. right?
It's basically a loop around the park.
But it's tough rigorous donuts, it's not like every couple hundred.
It's rigorous. Someone will be following us and it wouldn't be.
There are no other questions for the Recreation Department. We have no Public Works update today. Are there any questions regarding the Public Works Department? We will move on then to the Finance Department.
Thank you, Ms.
Ms.
Inbal. My report's very short, and because we already talked about it a little bit earlier today, and that's just that the staff is working hard on the 24 budget, and we look forward to presenting that later this spring. That's the end of my report.
I look forward to Ms. Rogers presenting.
Correction.
I had the pleasure of presenting it last year. Moving on then, if there are no questions for the Finance Department, we'll move to the Police Department. Chief Lebeau.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I have a short report also myself tonight. So we are, I just collected all the nominations for our annual awards ceremony. We'll be putting out a save the date for mid-April here within the next couple of days. We have a lot of solid work done by the police department staff over the last 2 weeks since we last met. They've closed some additional cases the detectives have, and our patrol division have made some arrests for some of the more serious crimes that have been reported. So we're looking forward to having that, and that's all I have.
Are there any questions for the Police Department? Yes, sir.
In my capacity with the fire department, I was on a recent incident downtown, and officers Stifler and Workman were extraordinary. As a matter of fact, I was working the incident with an active Baltimore County police officer, and he was astounded how helpful they were. So if you could pass that word on, they really went above and beyond the call of duty to lend us a hand with a whole set of very difficult circumstances.
I will, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for the Police Department? final housekeeping item, on Monday, the 20th, the city offices will be closed for President's Day. That concludes the departmental reports.
All right, thank you, Ms. Imhoff.
Mr. President,
Mr. Dayhoff.
may I give a fire department report?
You may.
Thank you. The chief's report is in for January 2023. The total calls for the month were 647. EMS calls were 553. Fire calls were 94. 358 were in the city limits. 237 were just outside the city limits. Number of overlapping calls, which continues to trend in a difficult direction, was 57%. Last year, we had a record of over 7,000 calls, and we seem to be in that direction this year. Thank you, Ms. Himmels. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Dayhoff. And now the final item on our agenda is citizen comments. And this is when we invite the public to address the mayor and council on any issues that pertain to tonight's agenda or any other city issues. For citizens not attending the public meeting, we invite you to send us your comments or concerns via email at comments@westminstermd.gov. All comments received by email will be shared with the mayor. Commenters should include their address and phone number with their comments. We'll now invite comments from anyone who is present. I'll remind everyone, this is an opportunity for the public to share their thoughts. From the mayor and council. Our role tonight is to listen to the comments and respond as appropriate after consultation with staff. And so now, is there anyone with us tonight who wishes to be heard? If so, please give us your name and address for the record. Anyone wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am.
Ask a question.
Give your name and.
Oh, sorry. Jacqueline Shinjack, and I live at 199 Greendale East Drive. I do happen to be the vice president of the Bonnie's Meadow Rotary and noticed earlier the discussion about Ellsworth Cemetery. Our Rotary has painted a good part of the, or restained a good part of the fence out there. We've also pulled all of the weeds that were in the circle there and tilled it. We plan on planting, but did not want to do that until spring. We do have a little bit more painting to do. The other thing that we have is there needs to be a path so that people can walk up to the circle where the flagpole now is, etc. And we are working on that, trying to determine if that can kind of be bricks that are laid out. How do you get a wheelchair there? We are asking the Rotary International for a grant to help us move forward with that. So because there was some discussion, I didn't know if there was someone else we should be talking to. That's with the city or?
I don't know, from the city standpoint, I can put you in touch with a couple of folks that are involved in that whole process if you'd like.
Okay, I know that we've talked to someone that is at Ellsworth, I mean, but I didn't know whether or not there was anything else since you brought it up at the Westminster meeting.
I would say, probably say the parties involved, that was the big one to go through.
Okay, all right,
It's not in the city yet, so we don't have that. Yeah,
okay, thank you.
sure.
Thank you for the information.
Yeah, and thank you for your good work.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Dominic.
So Dominic, 345 Minute Creek Drive, 443-756-2288. Good evening, funny text tonight. I wasn't going to actually say anything about this, but since it's been such a theme tonight, I thought I'd talk about it. I actually just had dinner with Tom Gruhl and Diane Bocher, who are running the foundation for Ellsworth. I don't know the official name, but I had dinner with them a few nights ago. And we're talking about it. And I feel like there were a lot of people actually here that are kind of involved in it. I know Tom brought it up in a meeting a few years ago, and that's what put it on my radar. And recently, but it's been several months now, I reached out to Kelly to do the pro bono legal work. She volunteered in a second. Also, Marty Hackett at CLSI, I know many of you know him. reached out to him to do the engineering pro bono. He said, no problem. He also said that they engineered probably 90% of around it already. So it's pretty easy to kind of put it together, but you know, things look easy from the outside. I don't want to say that because maybe it's been a nightmare ever since, I don't know, but those people were very, very quick. We donated the websites up and running. You can see a lot of the stories of the people that are buried there now. I think once a week they're putting a new story up there. So Tom Grohl, he takes care of it. He's been mowing the lawn and weeding there since 2012. I don't know if he's been involved with you guys at all, but he's Knights of Columbus. I think that's how he got started there. And Diane's been kind of running the genealogy side of it and trying to get more and more of the veterans headstones to be replaced or provided by the VA. And I can, Tom put you in touch, I can put you in touch with them, but it would definitely be Diane and Tom are the two to talk to. They kind of run that foundation with the community foundation here. And obviously, also, but I think Tom's probably, he's the guy that's doing a lot of the physical stuff there. So he can be very helpful with that. And I have a little bit of a list. They asked me to bring up some of you guys, and I'll do that at another time. I don't think anything big, but I did just want to give a quick update on that. I think Kelly's pretty close to having her stuff prepared to bring forward with annexation. And I hope that's done soon. So I'm going to be just started. I'm writing a book on the cemetery. So maybe I'll be interviewing some of you for that. But I would like by the end of me writing that to be able to say in there that hopefully that lines up. I don't have to do a revised version. I'm not that good at writing. So but yeah, I just thought I'd talk about like where things kind of are with it. But in terms of anything like that, I would talk to Tom Grohl, the person.
Thank you for all that information.
And since commissioners may be there, if you are feeling inclined to open up the 0.5 invite to like past local officials, I will still not be joining you.
It's actually open to everybody.
Yeah, other folks ran last.
If we were lifting, would you come?
Well, let's be clear. There was no running, at least not on our part.
There were
We walked.
there was ways to know that.
Yeah.
Ice and ice.
Okay.
Anyone else wish to be heard? All right, in that case, that concludes our agenda and the meeting. Our next regular meeting will be held on Monday, February 27th, again here at City Hall. That, without objection, we're adjourned.
So it's, so this, the flag shows being partial in length.